Hey guys, I am Dr. Kim Sage. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me. This is really a series I've been wanting to do for a while, and I am going to attempt to post every day very short videos, which is probably better for you guys anyway, on this topic. Today's video is going to really dive into, though, what do I mean by attachment wounds, and make some clarifications around that issue, and then kind of talk about how this is all going to play out in the series. Really quickly, if you're new here, please consider subscribing and clicking the bell, and that way you'll get notified when I post new videos. And also please consider sharing your stories and thoughts. Even if I don't see them all or respond to them all, when you share something, it very often helps someone else go, oh my gosh, it's not just me and I'm not alone. And I think that is the core. We can feel very alone in these struggles. So let's get into this video, which is really like, what do I mean by wounds? And I really want to clarify based on some data and research that I think is really important. So when I say wounds, I'm really talking about the initial attachment disturbance. And there are three main relational disturbances that Dan Brown and David Elliott talk about in their textbook on treating adult attachment disturbances. And that is what I'm going to be referencing today. So when I use the word attachment wounds, you might also need to know, it's important, and we will hopefully get to this way down the road here, is that we often also use the word attachment injury. And historically, that really applies to a more couples adult relationship dynamic, meaning that there was some breach of trust, some injury to the relationship. And an example would be, for example, I would say would be an affair where there was trust and then there's an injury to the attachment, and whether or not that can be repaired, as part of the whole dynamic. Or let's say I lost a parent and I felt like you weren't there for me. It was the first time I really felt alone in the relationship. That can be an injury. So we're not going to talk about attachment injuries to adult relationships. This series for now is going to focus on how the attachment disturbance, the initial wound in childhood, played out. Really, it's not even a wound in some ways. Initially, it's just how you have to respond to the environment you have been given. And so today's video is going to break down three types of relational disturbances and clarify what we're going to start with. All right? So keep that injury dynamic to the side. If you want to read more about attachment injuries, I would highly recommend Dr. Sue Johnson. She does emotionally focused couples therapy and EFT, and she's amazing. And she's also someone who ties her work to attachment. So everything I pretty much like and recommend always has its roots in sort of that neuroscience, polyvagal theory, in your body, attachment, that kind of stuff. So check her out. Okay, so in this series, when we're talking about wounds, we are talking about the initial dynamic that happened when you were first birthed to about 2 years of age. So the first type of relational disturbance is what we're going to work on healing and understanding. And it's basically the environment you arrived in, the quality of caregiving, how it showed up. And actually the word quality sounds bad because it makes it sound like you didn't get a good quality, which technically I would say you did not if you have a more insecure attachment dynamic with your parents. But the reality is that for many of us, we have, not received a secure attachment style for many different reasons. And so initially we have this really, before we even have words, this nonverbal understanding, this internal map I'll keep talking about. Oh, mommy doesn't seem to like it when I cry too much. I get put alone in my crib. So maybe I won't do that as much. Or I have been put in my crib so much that I've learned to completely shut down and deactivate my needs and self-soothe. Or mommy or daddy or the caregiver tend to be really frightful and scary and make scary faces, but they're also my source of safety, right? That's the disorganized attachment pattern. And so that is what is deeply set in us long before there's any language. Now, somewhere around 2-ish to 4-ish in terms of age, we start to develop more narrative memory, meaning that we have a way to sort of understand and internalize and narrate and make sense of a little bit what is happening to us. And so I'm going to read here what it talks about in this issue, but it basically says this. As we're going from about 2 to 4 years old, that first pattern under 2, right, we're nonverbal, we are developing a maturation of narrative memory systems, but also experiencing the development of complex emotional ideas, stable beliefs, and schemas. We're going to come back to a whole section on schemas later, and elaboration of wishes, needs, and fantasies, and complex structure of defenses through which aspects of problematic relational interactions become distorted or defensively excluded. That's a lot. Basically what it means is that we are first initially sort of nonverbal, we're just responding to the behavior and the engagement, and then we start to like understand, okay, like I was saying, there is actually a relationship between what happened to me and why mommy or daddy or parent responds this way, and how we try to like protect ourselves from that with defenses, how we engage, in every part of our story begins to develop more and more. And so that is really where we're talking about. That combination is how we're going to be focusing on this first part of the series. Now, the next two kind of types of relational disturbance that Dan Brown and David Elliott talk about is what's often called the core conflictual relationship theme. And the next one is often referred to as trauma bonds. And so in the next 2 videos, I'll be going into what those are. But just to make it really clear, you can have challenges with the relational themes in your life and still be secure, because those will happen later. And trauma bonds can also happen not just in childhood, but in adulthood. So check out the next 2 videos to kind of understand that more. But as I was saying, the core of this, you guys know I love this word core, is that we are going to be looking at that initial attachment relationship map, internalization of sort of what relationships are supposed to look like with others, with ourselves, getting our needs met, and those types of issues. So check out the next 2 videos, which will clarify a little bit more. And then we will continue on this series, kind of circling back to understanding attachment. I'll be going into the caregiving roles and the styles and how that shows up in relationships. And each little video, I hope, will just give you more and more understanding. So as a little bit to end this video today, just want to encourage you to begin to think about, how you engage in relationships. Do you generally expect people to be good or there for you? And how do you think you show up in relationships? How do others perceive your responsiveness? Maybe in your parenting or caregiving, maybe in your romantic relationships or friendships. Just beginning to think about, what does responsiveness, which is the heart of caregiving and attachment, what does that really mean for me? So thanks for watching, guys. Please stay safe and well. Enjoy your coffee or tea or wine or whatever you're having today, or maybe lots of water. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.